And we also expect the White House to try to reassure folks who are sitting there looking at their 401ks going down and down and down. This is a White House that came in trying to get federal workers to retire by the hundreds of thousands, but it's tough to make the argument that you should retire if your retirement accounts are getting throttled, which is what is happening right now. So we hope for answers to all of these curiosities any minute. John?
A2, Peter Doocy? That was the Fox host saying what, frankly, most Americans are saying, which is that it's not great that the White House is both cutting the jobs of tens, if not hundreds of thousands of federal employees, while at the same time ensuring that the environment they're fired into is as bad as humanly possible. And look, I get that Donald Trump wants to pretend that everything is fine and that these moves are somehow a necessary evil to get the economy to where we need it to be, but hear me out here. Trump took office with a 4% unemployment rate, historically low. The U.S. economy was the strongest in the world, the stock market was at a record high, inflation was cooling and was in the 2 to 3% range, with 2 being the target. So that stuff was all good. The problem was the cost of goods. And by the way, that's no secret. Trump himself admitted that the high cost of groceries, for example, was literally why he won the election.
I won on 2 things, the border, and more than immigration. You know, they like to say immigration. I break it down more to the border, but I won on the border and I won on groceries. It's a very simple word, groceries. Like almost, who uses the word? I started using the word, the groceries. When you buy apples, when you buy bacon, when you buy eggs, they would double and triple the price over a short period of time. And I won an election based on that. We're going to bring those prices way down.
So the issue is that costs were too high. And yet, now think about what Trump has done since he's been president. He's launched trade wars with all of our trading partners. Well, it's all well and good that Trump wants to frame this as some hit to foreign countries, but tariffs don't get paid by foreign countries. They get paid by Americans. They are a tax paid by American consumers to the American government. We foot the bill. So you've got a president who is elected with a mandate to lower costs, whose first act in office is to make everything more expensive? And by the way, it's not just the fact that costs are rising. The way that Trump is wielding these tariffs is also causing a ton of economic instability. And you know what the worst thing possible is for the stock market? Instability, which is why the markets have now entered correction territory, and even Trump himself refuses to rule out the possibility of a recession.
And I want to ask you about Ukraine and the blow up the other day with Zelensky. Let me stay on the economy for a moment, because there are rising worries about a slowdown. You've got the Atlanta Federal Reserve saying we're going to have a contraction in the first quarter. Look, I know that you inherited a mess, and you said that the other night.
I've only been here,
but are you expecting a recession this year?
I hate to predict things like that. There is a period of transition because what we're doing is very big. We're bringing wealth back to America. That's a big thing. And there are always periods of, it takes a little time. It takes a little time. But I think it should be great for us. I think it should be great. It's going to be great ultimately for the farmer.
This is a guy who would try to sell sand in the desert. The guy would sell water to a fish. And so for even this guy not to unequivocally help himself and shut down Maria Bartiromo and instead waffle on the idea of a recession should really tell you something about the economic environment that he's created. In fact, that's a point that Fox's Jessica Tarlov brought up here.
Even the strongest allies of the president don't like these tariffs. They might think it's possible to use them at smaller levels, 5%, 10%, but the tariff whiplash is destroying us. You look at the market tanking, and I thought Peter Doocy had a great point earlier on today, our very own Peter Doocy, where he said they want federal workers to take the buyout. They want them to retire, but they're sinking their retirement accounts. And Caroline Leavitt is standing up there at the podium, and she's just either she doesn't know how a tariff works or she's lying to the people. She said tariffs are a tax hike on foreign countries and a tax cut for the American people. And then a reporter, I think from the AP, so they got back in the room, said, have you ever paid a tariff? I have. They don't get charged on foreign countries. And then she went Trumpian. She goes, I think it's insulting that you're trying to test my knowledge on economics.
Meaning now we've got 2 hosts on Fox's Air who are acknowledging objective reality about the situation that Trump has created. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was asked about the prospect of a recession, and this is the best that she could come up with.
It seems that the read on the president's policies is one in which they do not have confidence in his trade tariffs policy they do not have confidence in what the president said to Fox News over the weekend, that he didn't rule out the idea of a recession. What is your read in terms of the decline that we've seen over the last week and a half in financial markets?
Well, I think there's actually a lot of reason to be confident, and many people do feel confident. Just look at the nearly $2 trillion in private investment that this president has secured. Look at the comments made by the CEO of Apple, one of the biggest companies in this world, who said that he is bullish on the future of American innovation under the leadership of President Trump. Look at CEO confidence. According to the Conference Board measure of CEO confidence, in Q1 2025, under the leadership of this president, it jumped to its highest level in 3 years, from cautious optimism to confident optimism.
Well, if CEO confidence is good, then I guess we're fine, right? As long as the millionaires and billionaires feel happy, then what could possibly be wrong? I've said this before, and I'll say it again. This administration does not care about you unless you are wealthy. The tax cut that they are ushering through will give the top 1% a tax cut that'll be a staggering 70 times higher than what the middle class gets. 70 times higher. The stat that Carolyn Levitt cites to explain away a tanking economy is that corporate CEOs still feel good, which, by the way, I'm sure has nothing at all to do with the fact that they're about to get a tax cut. The budget that Republicans are about to pass will cut $880 billion from Medicaid and $230 billion from food stamps, which the poorest Americans rely on, all to offset $4.5 trillion in tax cuts for the rich. Do they have to tattoo their tax brackets on their faces before everyone in this country begins to realize exactly who these people are fighting for? And look, the reason that I'm covering clips from Fox News, including Peter Doocy and Jessica Tarlov, is because Fox and right-wing media more broadly have been really effective at insulating their audiences from the truth. In the rare instances where the truth does break through, even on that very network, it's worth promoting. And the reality is that Trump and Republicans are going to have a really difficult time convincing their audience that the economy somehow isn't bad when we can all see the stock market, when we can all see our 401ks, when we can all see the cost of groceries and rent and housing and lumber and food and pharmaceuticals and cars and auto parts and electronics all go up. All of the pro-Trump coverage in the world is not going to help them explain it away. And in the same way the Democrats lost in 2024, in part because even non-political Americans could still feel the economy and wanted to punish the people in charge, this is the same situation working to the detriment now of the GOP. So you can try to spin the truth all you want, but at some point, reality is going to catch up with you. That is a lesson that Fox, Trump, and Republicans are all learning in real time. Before you go, first, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we're now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they're willing to cater to this White House. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a great way for me to be able to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's completely free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support my work. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.